The unspoken truth. You're about to enter a space where the uncomfortable becomes the uncomfortable truth. The unspoken truth is not for the faint of heart. Join me as we confront the tough questions, shatter the illusions, and expose the unvarnished reality that lies beneath.
In this episode of The Unspoken Truth, we'll delve into the events surrounding the Las Cruces bowling alley massacre and explore the investigation that followed. Join me as we examine the evidence and seek answers to the questions that still haunt the families of the victims and the community. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of our podcast. Today, we're going to discuss a haunting and tragic event that has remained unsolved for over 3 decades, the Las Cruces Bowling Alley Massacre. This devastating crime shook the quiet community of Las Cruces, New Mexico on February 10, 1990, leaving a lasting impact that is still felt today. Imagine a typical Saturday morning at the Las Cruces Bowl, a place where families and friends gathered for recreation and enjoyment. Employees were preparing to open for the day, and the atmosphere was one of anticipation for the weekend ahead. But at approximately 8 o'clock in the morning, 2 unidentified men entered the building, setting in motion a chain of events that would forever alter the lives of those present. The assailants made their way to the office area where they encountered several employees and family members of the bowling alley's owner. They demanded money, and after obtaining what cash was on hand, reports estimate the amount to be between $4,000 and $5,000, they committed an act of unimaginable violence. The 2 men shot 7 people at close range, including a 12-year-old girl and her 6-year-old sister. The victims were Ida Holguin, an employee, Stephen Tarrin, the alley's pin mechanic, Paula Holguin, age 6, and Valerie Tarrin, age 2, daughters of Stephen, Amy Hauser, age 13, an employee, Melissa Repass, age 12, and her mother Stephanie Sinek, both of whom miraculously survived despite their injuries. After the shootings, the perpetrators set fire to the office area in an apparent attempt to destroy evidence, then fled the scene. Despite being gravely wounded, 12-year-old Melissa showed incredible courage. She managed to call 911, providing critical information to emergency services. Her voice, filled with pain yet remarkably composed, described the horrifying situation. "They shot us. They've all been shot. I'm the only one conscious." This call was pivotal in alerting authorities promptly, potentially saving lives. The investigation that ensued was one of the most extensive in New Mexico's history. Composite sketches of the suspects were created based on Melissa's descriptions and other witnesses who saw the men outside the bowling alley. The 2 were described as Hispanic males, one younger with dark hair and the other older, possibly in his 40s, with a mustache. Despite numerous leads and a substantial reward offered by the Las Cruces Dona Ana County Crime Stoppers, the case remains unsolved. Law enforcement officials have periodically revisited the case over the years, hoping that advancements in forensic technology or renewed public interest might yield new information. The massacre has been the subject of several television programs and documentaries aiming to shed light on the case and keep the memory of the victims alive. One notable example is the documentary A Nightmare in Las Cruces, released in 2010 by filmmaker Charlie Mint. The film delves into the details of the crime, featuring interviews with survivors, family members, and investigators. It serves not only as a chronicle of the event, but also as a call to action for anyone who might have information. Meenan, in discussing the importance of the documentary, stated, "This is a story that needs to be told until it's solved. The families deserve answers, and the community deserves closure." His commitment reflects a broader sentiment shared by many who have been touched by this tragedy. The impact of the massacre on the Las Cruces community cannot be overstated. For a city that prided itself on safety and close-knit neighborhoods, such a violent and senseless act was both shocking and incomprehensible. Memorials and vigils were held in the aftermath, with community leaders urging anyone with information to come forward. The local newspapers covered the story extensively, keeping it in the public eye and highlighting the personal stories of the victims. Over the years, several theories have been proposed regarding the motive behind the crime. Some believe it was a robbery that escalated unexpectedly, while others speculate it might have been a targeted act, possibly connected to deeper criminal activities in the area at the time. The level of violence and the attempt to eliminate witnesses suggests that the perpetrators were determined to leave no survivors. Comparisons have been drawn to other unsolved crimes in American history, such as the Burger Chef murders in 1978, where 4 employees were abducted from an Indiana fast food restaurant and killed, with the case remaining unsolved. These cases share similarities in their randomness, brutality, and the enduring mysteries that surround them. Despite one of the enduring questions about the Los Cruces case is how the perpetrators could escape without a trace in broad daylight. Some witnesses reported seeing a third person acting as a lookout or getaway driver, but this has never been confirmed. The proximity of the bowling alley to major highways may have facilitated a quick escape, complicating the investigation. Advancements in forensic science since 1990 offer some hope that the case might still be solved. DNA analysis techniques have evolved significantly, and there is potential for re-examining any biological evidence that may have been preserved. Fingerprints, once considered unusable, might now be analyzed with more sophisticated technology. Law enforcement agencies are increasingly utilizing genetic genealogy, the method that led to the capture of the Golden State Killer in 2018, to solve cold cases. The victims' families have endured unimaginable pain, compounded by the lack of closure. For them, time does not heal all wounds. In an interview with local media, a family member expressed, "We wake up every day hoping for answers. The not knowing is the hardest part." Their resilience is a testament to the human spirit. They've kept the memory of their loved ones alive through memorials, scholarships, and public speaking, advocating not only for their case, but also for victims' rights more broadly. The community has also played a vital role in keeping the case in the public consciousness. Annual events are held to commemorate the victims and to remind the public that the assailants have yet to be brought to justice. Local businesses and organizations often participate, highlighting the collective commitment to solving this case. It's important to acknowledge the dedication of the law enforcement officers who have worked tirelessly on this case. Retired detectives often speak about the profound effect the massacre had on them personally and professionally. The frustration of an unsolved case of this magnitude weighs heavily, and the desire to bring closure fuels their continued efforts. The Las Cruces Bowling Alley Massacre is not just a story of tragedy. It's also a story about the strength of a community and the enduring pursuit of justice. It serves as a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the impact that a single act of violence can have on countless lives. As we consider this case, it's crucial to remember that unsolved crimes are not merely statistics. They involve real people whose lives have been irrevocably changed. They require our attention and our willingness to assist in any way possible. If you have any information about the Las Cruces Bowling Alley Massacre, no matter how insignificant it may seem, please contact the Las Cruces Dona Ana County Crime Stoppers. Your tip could be the missing piece that finally brings justice to the victims and their families. In closing, let's honor the memory of those who lost their lives: Ida Holguin, Stephen Tarrin, Paula Holguin, Valerie Tarrin, and Amy Hauser. Let's also acknowledge the incredible bravery of survivors like Melissa Repast and Stephanie Senek, who have carried the weight of this tragedy throughout their lives. Thank you for joining me on this journey through a difficult but important story. By keeping these narratives alive, we contribute to a culture that values justice, remembers victims, and supports communities in healing. Until our next episode, stay safe, take care of one another, and perhaps most importantly, never lose hope that truth and justice will prevail. I am